Hi, guys. Lembo Fernandez on the grid, Facebook Live.
Hello.
So if you have absolutely nothing to do, check us out. Or if you have absolutely something to do, check us out. Either way, right, John?
Either way, yes.
Check us out.
Yes.
But a lot going on.
Yes.
A lot will be coming. Let's start off with what happened yesterday.
We have absolutely a lot to do.
Yes. Next week we will, especially.
Yeah.
Letter of intent day yesterday for basketball and the other schools. 9 schools, area schools, 40 athletes signed, admittedly Division II, Division III.
Right.
But let's give kudos to Sarasota. Out of all the schools, they had the most signings, 11. 8 football, 1 swimming, 2 baseball. Venice had 7. Braden River had about 7.
Right.
So, again, second signing period, smaller schools, but nevertheless, big day for these kids.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's not as splashy as the February signing day, but look, I mean, it's 40 kids from the area who are going to school.
Right.
And a lot of kids who are getting some money to do it, and they're continuing their education and their athletic careers. So, yeah, it's and I said that back last year, too. We kind of lose sight of what it means for these kids and their parents, because we look at it as, okay, who's the big signing? Who's going Division I? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? But, it's really about these kids bettering their lives and their futures. And, yeah, definitely. It's always a good day when kids sign.
And, something, if it wasn't for athletics, maybe a lot of these kids wouldn't get a chance to get a college education.
Right.
So you got to look at it that way. My dad was fortunate enough to pay for my college education back when it was $5,000 a year, back about a million years ago. So it's a little bit different now.
And like I said, too, but a lot of these kids, I've known there have been kids who the only reason they stay eligible and go to class is they can compete in athletics in high school, and then they kind of get into a rhythm, and before you know it, they're graduating with a diploma. And so, yeah, I mean, it's cool to see things like that.
Actually, the biggest news, not to demean that at all, but a couple of days ago, John Booth sort of shocked the area by announcing he was stepping down as Manatee coach.
We broke that story.
I read that story. Obviously, John, a fine man, has 4 kids, really can't cut it on a teacher's salary, so he's going into finance.
Right.
You just talked to the AD up there. How many applications do they have for this job?
Just talked to Daniel LaPointe a few minutes ago. Right now it's 125, and they're still coming in. So, look, Manatee's an attractive job to a lot of people, the administration, the booster support you get. So, yeah, I'm not surprised by that number. The first allowable day of spring football is April 24th, a week from Monday, so I don't see them having anyone in by then. So it'll probably be John Booth coaching in the spring. It's going to keep things, flowing the right way, and then hopefully get somebody in, and by summer they have a staff. So
his brother's also becoming the head coach at Plant City.
And that's interesting, too, because I talked to James Booth about that, John's twin brother, and James said he didn't know that John was leaving, that, he was kind of trying to work up how to tell him that he was applying for this job, and when he told John said, that's a good idea, because I might be leaving as well. So kind of weird how that kind of worked out for him, and yeah, best of luck to James up in Plant City, and yeah, it's interesting, but like the story you had back in the fall about how it's hard for coaches and the money they make and the hours they put in to keep it rolling. This is another example of that.
We had a nice package. You wrote that story, and I wrote the obligatory column calling up Joe Canea and might he be interested?
Yeah.
And he gave me the answer I kind of expected, that he wasn't interested in the amount of work it would take to put it. But also, he has a lawsuit pending against people that are no longer there. But I question whether they want to move on from Joe and move on to another era up there.
Judging from what he told you in that story, and when I talked to him back when he and USF parted ways, I do think his head coaching career is done. But I wouldn't be surprised if, let's just say, someone he knew would get the Manatee job. I'm not saying I know anything, because I don't. But what if someone he knew got the job and asked him to come and help out? I think he'd do something like that.
Right.
I still think he wants to be in the game. He does want to coach, but I just don't think he wants to be the head coach anymore. Because as he said, there's so much work goes into that. Being the head football coach, it's crazy.
When I was talking to him, I said, well, what advice would you give? And he said, I'd look for somebody local with Manatee connections. Yet the AD, Ms. LaPointe, has put a nationwide search, so that may preclude getting somebody local. Right?
I think what they're doing, they're just casting the widest net possible and getting the best person they can get. Whether that person lives in Bradenton or that person lives in Hollywood, California. Who knows? I think when you have an opening like this, it's good for yourself to kind of, open it up. It's kind of like when you're looking for a job. If do you want to only look for a job in a certain part of the country? You want to say, I want to find the best job that fits me and my family. So I think they're casting that wide net, see what they get, and I'm curious who the finalists are going to be. It's going to be a long process, but I'm curious who they're going to have in place.
Now, what's also key when you're talking about attracting somebody from another part of the country is making sure there's a teaching position to go along with that. The person's not going to move across the country country for a stipend. So, but John Booth is stepping down. He was a teacher, so maybe there's an automatic opening.
There is a teacher's opening, and talking to Daniel Lapointe, she would want to have someone on campus. That's what she'd want. I don't think it's not a rule, but she would rather have the coach on campus, all the coaches on campus. So that makes sense. But then there's a question of too with how many years in. Obviously, when you're a teacher, how many years can you take with you in terms of the union?
Sure,
So many logistics go into this, and like I said, it's going to be. I mean, I'm glad it's not my decision. It's going to be a lot of resumes to look through and a big decision to make, and we'll see where they go with it.
They got time to vet, and then again, they don't have time to vet. It seems like. I mean, in terms of timing, there could have been a better timing if a coach is going to step down.
I think they've kind of the idea of a coach here by spring is gone.
Right.
Like I said, first practice is the 24th, so you're not going to get someone in by then. So they do have some time to vet, and it's kind of like you want somebody in here quick, but at the same time, you want someone who you think is going to be here and the right fit for your kids.
A couple of local notes. Karan Higdon, I wrote about him a couple of days, the ex-Ram running back now up in Michigan. Right. He will be holding a camp May 5th through 7th called the Who Next Camp down in Northport, and he's encouraging all the high school football players in the area to come down. It's like a combine-type setup where there's going to be recruiters, college people looking at you working out, and to get that exposure. So he's, the guy's going to be an anesthesiologist. He's carrying a 3.4 football player, and yet he has time to come up with this camp. Great idea by Karan.
Definitely, and it's nice to see kids giving back. I think too many times we talk about the kids who go out and stumble. Sometimes forget that there are kids who go out and do good things. And, you mentioned the GPA and wants to be an anesthesiologist, which is not an easy.
Yeah, he wants to be a gas passer. I know you're that sometimes.
Yes, I am. But no, I actually read somewhere that's like the most high pressure job in
because if you screw that up, I mean, you're open to a lawsuit, I would think, right?
And you're also open to killing somebody as well.
Right, exactly.
So I think that's
never want that to happen, ladies and gentlemen.
Good for Karen, and hopefully a lot of kids around here take advantage of that and go out and show their stuff.
Quickly, I'll give the website. It's www.whonextwarriors.com if you want to register and pay the fee.
And that's WHO, right?
Right. Who next? Yeah, he's my translator here. Also, real quick, we mentioned about Sarasota having 11 people signing yesterday. Right. Another little note: Eric Skoglund, 6'6", 180-pounder, a third-round pick back in 2014. Called up by the Royals, AAA, Omaha. Had his first start a couple of days ago, 5 innings, no runs. Right. So he's another guy, 6'6", lefty. Look out, maybe we might see him in the majors the next couple of years. So good for Eric Skoglund.
And the Royals are now in an interesting spot, of course, that great run, 2 pennants, winning the World Series. But there's talk if this team kind of stumbles out of the gate, which they have, they might kind of take it apart and rebuild. So this could be a good time for him to be on someone's radar.
Yeah, exactly. Very quickly, John, we got a lot of stuff coming up. Just break down what we got coming up the next couple of days.
Well, we had district tennis this week, and Venice, Riverview, St. Stephen's, Lemon Bay, all winning championships. So the regionals are next week. As you know, it's the new format. The team also too on this is Thursday, so we have lacrosse tonight. St. Stephen's girls and Riverview boys playing down in Fort Myers. They both play Canterbury, I believe. So if they win, they move on. Then we have just a track coming up, getting ready for the state meet going to be here May 5th and 6th back in IMG. And so we're rolling now. Spring sports, man, it's here, and of course spring football a week from Monday.
That's unbelievable. So if anybody out there wants to help out here, can write freelance, Scott Peterson, give him a jingle. But so we got a lot coming up, and we'll talk about all that in the weeks to come here on the grid.
And keep watching because we have a lot to talk about, and of course the Manatee coaching search will be on top of that.
Exactly, you'll be on top of that.
Yep.
Exactly. So for John Lembo, I'm Doug Fernandes. We'll see you next week on the Grid.